missing someone here.
So you turn it on when the meeting starts? You turn it on when the meeting starts?
They're on.
They're on. Okay, what time you got?
I have 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. Okay, I will call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Director Sewell.
Here.
Director Martin.
Here.
Vice President Duncan.
Here.
President Wright.
Here.
Director Grasha.
I just have one comment in regard to Director Grasha. We received an email from him to the General Manager and General Counsel and states the following. Please let this email serve as notice that I will be absent from the regular board meeting on February 18th, 2020, as I have received an invitation to serve during this week's VIP visit to the Coachella Valley, and I have accepted this great honor to represent our community, both here, Los Angeles, and in Arizona. And that's the reason he will not be here today.
Thank you, Grace. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Jim, hand over your heart. Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Grace, would you please read our policy? Oh, you know what? Wait a minute. Not right now. Wait a second. You know, thank you. I saw you guys staying standing. Thank you. But what I would like to do today is our good friend Richard Cromwell passed away yesterday at 4:40 yesterday afternoon. He was home. He was surrounded by his family. So I'd just like to have a moment of silence for Richard. Okay, thank you. Okay, now Grace.
All right. So just have some reminders that all notice meetings are conducted using Rosenberg's Rules of Order as a procedural guideline. And so that does mean that it's not required, but it is recommended. Directors should refrain from responding directly to public comments at meetings of the board. The board president will refer matters raised by public comments to the general manager for follow-up as appropriate. Occasionally, a prompt response may be offered when an obvious answer or resolution is available, provided this is done with compliance with the Brown Act. The president of the board presides at all meetings and decides all points of order and procedure during meetings. The president is responsible for the maintenance of order and decorum at all board meetings. No person should be allowed to speak who has not first been recognized by the president. All questions and remarks should be addressed to the president as the presiding officer. No member of the board should speak more than once upon any subject until every other member of the board wishing to speak on the subject has been given that opportunity. No board member shall interfere with the orderly progress of a board meeting. In order to ensure the orderly progress of board meetings, the board president regulates the amount of time to be dedicated to a particular agenda item. A roll call vote on any item may be requested by a director at the discretion of the president, and roll call votes are encouraged in connection with resolutions, ordinances, and action after a public hearing.
Thank you, Grace. This is our new policies that we're going to be using at our board meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, employee recognition and achievement certifications. Okay, we got a bunch, and they look like there's a lot of them in here today. We have Chris Jacobson, lead wastewater treatment plant operator. I'm sorry, Chris, I missed one. That's an anniversary, 16 years. Christopher Shanahan? Which one are you, Chris? Hi. Okay, he's a field operation technician 1, and he's a new hire, aren't you?
Yes.
I know. Anybody want to say anything?
I will.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm just getting something cleared up.
Good afternoon. Chris, come on up. Chris comes to us from another water agency. He brings along a lot of experience, whether it's plowing snow or fixing leaks and stuff. They came from up in the mountain area, so he does live here local now. So we welcome him aboard. He's been doing a fantastic job. Came in with a lot of experience, and he's helping out with construction maintenance a lot. So.
Good, well, welcome and congratulations.
Now you'll have the opposite problem. You're gonna get to help people out when it's really hot.
Yeah.
And if you look at the rest of the crew, you're gonna have to grow a beard now.
Yeah.
And what's wrong with that?
Well, nothing, just requirements.
Okay, now we'll get to you, Chris. Chris Jacobson, he's the lead wastewater treatment plant operator, 16 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Haven't gotten rid of me yet.
Well,
Yeah, he's also employee of the year, right?
yes, well.
Or
Chris-
whatever that's called.
Yes, well, he is absolutely a wonderful employee. Chris has been here since I've been here. We've been here a year longer than me, actually.
He's trying to get me to carpool with him.
And, yeah, we see each other on the way to work almost every morning. We still haven't carpooled yet. We do have different schedules. We've always been able to rely on Chris to step in. He's extremely bright and up on top of things, and he's just very dedicated and always been a great employee to this district. And he's worked his way through some illness, and he's just a tremendous employee that any district would be proud to have. I want to thank you, Chris, for that. Okay.
Thank you.
And don't think it doesn't go unrecognized.
Another taker.
Good afternoon. Lee Boyer was planning on being here, but unfortunately had to leave earlier today for an emergency. But he asked me to say a couple of things about Chris, and he sent me a text with specific items. I'm going to paraphrase what he. Basically, everything that Arden said. That Chris has been here 16 years. I've only been fortunate enough to be with Chris now for a year and a half, and I've seen a lot of the stuff that Arden, General Manager, spoke about and what Lee has spoken about. But 16 years with this agency, he is the right-hand man in that department. He takes care of a lot of stuff in the absence of the chief plant operator, and he does a great job. Lee also wanted me to throw in there, he loves to eat. I'm not sure what that's all about, but
Thank you for that.
Good.
and we're working on his beard, so.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Oh, and obviously everybody has heard that Chris is up for the Big Hearts Award next month, so.
We'll
thank
be
you.
there watching you.
Nice.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chris, for all you do. Okay, we have Sierra Shellman, Customer Service Rep 2. And just the record, let the record reflect that Director Grosha just walked in the building. She read your email, so, okay.
Things opened up for me.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Sierra's been with the district for 3 years in the customer service department. She continues to be an asset to the district. She's very calm and collected and does a great job with our customers. She's taking more classes and doing things that benefit the district and herself to continue to grow. So we're very grateful that we have her up there.
Yeah, Sierra, thank you.
Can't believe 3 years ago.
Oriana Hopper,
You want to stay back there?
Human Resources
She's got a
Coordinator.
bad knee, so we have
Okay,
to.
Human Resources Coordinator, Administration Assistant, 3 years.
Yes. She was hired actually to split time between finance and human resources. However, with her experience from Riverside County, her passion for human resources, and the district's need for HR assistance, she immediately began working full-time as an HR person. She brings a calmness and great personality to the position. She's committed to continuous learning and ensuring that the Human Resources Department exceeds management and employees' expectations. To further her skills, she is studying to obtain her master's degree in Human Resource Management and hopes to have that in the next year. We are very lucky to have her. It's been a pleasure working with her.
Thank you.
I'm getting all these nice comments. I do like, Oriana does display a balance in her characteristics that really blend well with this type of position, and it's been a delight having her. Thank you so much, Oriana.
Thank you, Oriana. Rita Hubbard Germshield? Germshield?
Rita here.
Is she here?
She was here this morning.
About
I don't
Julio
see her,
Martinez.
I don't think this afternoon, and Rita's, I'm gonna let Matt tell you.
Actually, Rita was here earlier, but she had to attend to something. She may be back before I finish, but Rita has been a great addition to the accounting department, taken a large load off of Arturo and help balance the load in that department, and been a huge strength to the department. So kudos to her.
Tell Rita thank you.
Thank you.
Julio Martinez, Field Operations Technician 1 year.
Yeah,
You
Jeff,
made it.
This is working out nice to have you guys get up and make a little comment.
As you just said, Julio has now been employed here for a year. He's been absolutely a pleasure to have on our crew. He's a tough guy, as you can see. He smiles all the time. You know, we could be doing something at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, doesn't matter. He's always just a happy person. He brings such a good culture to the department. It's really unbelievable. I don't think there's anything we can give him that he's not happy to go do. So we do really appreciate him being here for a year, and we hope he stays here with us for as long as he can. So, what is it?
Great.
Thank you.
I might add that I have shared the same thing that Jeff brought up. It's kind of interesting because I've noticed that about Julio also. If I'm walking across the yards out there or in the office, I just love his smile and his hi, and he talks to you, and it's just enjoyable having him around. You're a good addition to the district. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Happiness is good. Jared, I'm going to let you do the promotion. You have to.
No, the promotion.
In
Well, I know Colton.
Yes, Colton.
Yeah, and I'll let Water Production, formerly Field Operations Technician. You can. It is an honor to have you come over to the other department.
Thank you.
Colton.
Juan Hernandez was the water production foreman. Was unable to attend today, so here I am again. Colton is a very short timer. He's only been with us for approximately 3-4 months. I started off in field operations, and we had a vacancy in the water production department, and based on his experience working past jobs, he was the best fit, so production department decided to move forward, and Colton was promoted to Water Production Operator 1. Just want to make sure I get that right. So,
Congratulations.
So
Yeah,
thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
We will introduce our other new employee next time, Carlos.
Okay.
He just came on with you. It'll be a little premature.
Okay, we have public comments. I have one card here from Russell Betts. Councilman Russell Betts, I should say.
I heard the really sad news about Richard Cromwell, and I know he was a real, dedicated friend of this district, paid a lot of attention. What a sad loss. I serve on the Sunline Transit Agency board, and he made a huge impact down there to set that agency on the course of zero emissions vehicles. And we have 18 hydrogen fuel cell buses that are now in use day to day at Sunline. And obviously hydrogen fuel cell wasn't around at the time when he moved that agency towards a much greener existence with CNG, getting them off of diesel. But that legacy is there, so I'm just really sad to hear this news, and you come to a meeting to see what's going on, and then you hear something like that. So
I don't know when you walked in, but we had a moment of silence.
yeah, I was here for that. So I'm just wanted to take a moment to say, what a great friend of this valley and this agency.
Thanks,
Russ.
Russ. He was our him and Ron basically were our main public for years. So he was.
Let me replay that real quick. Your general manager, Laura, gave a nice presentation at a DVBA lunch Thursday, on Sunline. Yeah, a lot of growth, a lot of potential there. It's gonna be big.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to speak in public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to a public hearing. Did I get any? Oh, here, that's what you gave me. Okay. Public hearing number 2 for the process to transition to a by-division election system. To receive public input regarding the composition of divisions and division boundaries as provided in Election Code Section 10010. This is our second public hearing on it, therefore there's no maps as of yet, and I will...
By law. No maps.
By law, right, by law, no maps. Is there anything, Arden, I'm gonna hand this over to you.
Well, I'm
What
gonna
you got
hand it
going?
over to David and
Okay.
we'll go through the same process. I don't know do we go through the same hearing process?
Yeah, you have a script.
You have a script.
Oh, okay, so we do the public hearing first.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry, David.
This
we
is the
may
time
have
I
to
did,
go
I,
through this first.
okay, this is the time and place fixed to solicit the public's input in respect to the preparation of draft maps of divisions and the process for a proposed transition from at-large to by-district elections. The public hearing will be declared, I will open the public hearing at this time and staff will give their report. I will then call for comments from the public. During this time, there will be no back and forth conversation between the public and the board and the staff. All questions will be noted and will be addressed after all public comments have been received. The public hearing will then be closed and the board may have a discussion of if necessary. Okay, public hearing is open. Secretary, please.
Notice of public hearing was posted in the Desert Sun newspaper on February 7th, 2020. As of this afternoon, there has been no comments or protests on this item.
Thank you. Anybody would like to speak on this matter at this time? Okay, so I guess I close the public hearing now, right? Let's close the public hearing. I didn't read this thing ahead of time, sorry guys. Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Any questions from the board? Ivan, do you have a question or a comment? Steve, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't think so.
Okay. Russ?
The only thing, realistically, how quick is this process from start to finish before we actually wind up with districts and got the registrar of voters on board to get to handle the election? So what time frame are we talking about here?
Well, because we initiated the system, we're not really subject to any real time frames. If we want this to occur for this year's election, we have to have this process completed by June 1st.
Which we have on our time schedule.
And we have that on our time schedule.
We've got it all.
Yeah, as soon as if there is a glitch and you decide you don't want to do it by then, if you won't be held in violation, you'll still be in compliance with your districting requirements, but we won't be able to put it in place for this year's election.
My concern, of course, is after seeing some of the boondoggles that the registrar of voters has been involved in with counting votes and getting, I very, very cautious about being optimistic in their ability to get it done and done right so that people vote in their proper districts and so forth. So.
Well, that's going to be there any way you look at it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but rushing it can cause even more.
I will say there are other agencies and cities have also implemented it the same year that they had an election. And it worked out.
Is it worked out okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
You said something that I didn't fully engage on about we would not have enough time to do it by this year?
No.
We would. We would.
We will have time to do it
By
for
June.
this year's
Has to be done by
election.
June 1st.
All right.
It has
And
to be
usually
done
that
by
June
June
1st.
1st.
Usually that June 1st can be, extended a little bit farther. That's probably not
That
drop dead.
might not be a real.
Yeah, but it's close. Okay, any other from the board? Okay, I will close the public hearing. And I will, let's see, we don't have to vote on anything, right?
No, but you have a presentation.
Okay, I have a
Do
presentation.
you want it? Do you even want, it's the same as the one we had last time. Did you want to go over it again or not?
There's public here. We can all hear it again.
Okay.
That's just.
Yeah, it's fine with me either way.
I didn't see
I'll
that.
try and go through it kind of quickly. There is a copy of this presentation on the website. There's a link to the district elections issue under the customers drop down on the website, and we're going to try and put it a little bit more prominently as well. So the process that we have, this is the second the second of 4 required hearings. The first 2 public hearings, we're not allowed to have maps. It's basically to collect information that will be used to develop the maps. I anticipate that I will be generating at least some test maps over the next week or so, and then communicating with staff about those. And then we will be generating 1 or more draft maps to be published at least 7 days before the second round of hearings starts, which I believe is going to be a month from now. Is when we have our.
Is it our next meeting, Arden?
Well, we could still do it the meeting after that and still be in time for the June 1st.
But we're doing it at a meeting, it's not going to be separate from the...
We had a meeting, yeah. Oh, you mean coordinated? We can do it either way. We're going to try to have it at the meetings, yes.
All right, so that's pretty much what the. Let's see if I can figure out how to make this thing work. Where do I need to point it? Is there any place I need to point it?
I can control it from here.
Okay.
I thought I left it off.
Yeah. Okay. So this slide basically has all the general things that will be being considered when we draw the districts, or the general things that are usually considered. So we have legal requirements about what the districts have to be. I'll discuss those in a minute. We look at the geography of the jurisdiction, so whatever information we have about neighborhoods, the physical layout, anything that might be barriers between people or things that connect people, and then overlapping jurisdictions, so school districts, cities, those kinds of things. We also look at the historical political participation, voter registration rates, voter turnout, and those kind of things. And then sometimes we'll look at the ethnic shares as determined by surname matching of registered voters and actual voters. We have census data, we have demographic characteristics. The primary demographic characteristics is basically just the total population by ethnicity, the voting age population by ethnicity, and then the citizen voting age by ethnicity, which is not part of the main census, but we get from the American Community Survey, which is conducted by the Census Bureau, but is not part of the decennial census. Additionally, from the American Community Survey, we get socioeconomic characteristics, so things like income, home ownership, age of housing, length of residence, those kinds of things, and then whatever public input we get. When we're looking at the geography, the main things that we want to look at are areas that function as a community, where people interact with each other regularly, they recognize themselves as being a community, that sort of thing. And we also want to look at different neighborhoods or communities that think of themselves as different from each other, but that have a lot in common and also interact significantly. It would be good to combine areas like that together in a district. We want to look at physical features, things that either divide people or barriers between people, or things that tie people together, like highways and things that make connections between different people. You also want to pay attention to communities that might be very different from each other, have very different priorities and considerations, and try and separate them into different districts, so that you don't have a single representative having to have communities within the district competing with each other for that sort of thing. And then we also look at significant points of interest. So anything within the jurisdiction that has a great impact based on its location, in terms of either benefits or costs to people who live around it, that can play into the way that districts should be configured. So the technical process is really what I mean by that is that these are the legal requirements that drive what I do in my line drawing. So we have to have equal population in the districts within a total population deviation of 10% from the most populous to the least populous district. You can think of it simply as being plus or minus 5%, but it doesn't have to be exactly that. You can have 2% and 8%, and that sort of thing. We have to examine the districts carefully to make sure that we are not creating anything that will have a dilutive effect on minority voters. That relates to both the California Voting Rights Act and the Federal Voting Rights Act, and just general considerations of equal representation. We can't do anything intentionally that harms minority voters, but we also can't do it by accident. It doesn't have to be intentional to be illegal. And then the third thing relative to federal law is that race cannot be the predominant issue. So when we're drawing these districts, we draw them on a whole series of criteria. We consider race in order to avoid vote dilution, but it can't be the driving factor that completely determines how the districts are. The state law is very general in what it says. So we've got topography, geography, cohesiveness, contiguity, integrity and compactness of territory, and communities of interest. All of those things, I think, fit with the previous slide that I had about geographic considerations. That's basically what the state law requires. Some of the geographic data that I have in the computer and look at when doing this, we have the street and highway grid. The census tracts and blocks, that's the way that the census data is reported, so we have to use those in creating the districts so that we can equalize the population. Beyond that, we can look at precinct geography, and that actually relates to the issue that he raised. If there's concerns about the ability of the county registrar to implement elections carefully, properly, then it's a good idea to pay attention to the existing precincts, because to the extent that existing precincts are not split, there's no error that can be made easily in implementing the district. If a precinct is split by a district line, then the registrar is going to have to correctly assign voters to different districts within a precinct. So it's not a requirement, but it's something that's worthwhile to look at, especially with those concerns. In addition to that, we can look at parcel lines in case the census geography doesn't follow reasonable things. We can use something like parcel lines as the district boundary, and then I'll be looking at the data that I've gotten from the district and from other areas of geographic information systems, boundaries of different jurisdictions. And we also can look at the school district boundaries and attendance boundaries and city boundaries, those kind of things. This is the population, voting age population, citizen voting age population breakdown of the jurisdiction as a whole. So we'll be creating 5 districts out of this. So 37,500 people. In terms of the total population, it's 53% Latino and 36% white. The voting age population is more white and less Latino because of the age characteristics of the communities. And then when you look at the citizen voting age population, you've got citizenship issues combined with age distribution, so that in that category it's basically about 36% Latino and 51% white. I'm going to go through a series of maps here that show some basic information about the socioeconomic characteristics This data is all by block group, so these are fairly large areas. The data is not available for anything more granular than this, but all of these maps, a blue color is a low number and a red color is a high number, and it's just a sort of a spectrum in between. So you can see the red and orange areas that have the highest median income, and the green areas that are sort of in the middle, and then the blue areas that have the lowest. And then this is kind of the flip side of the same thing. This is the percent of poverty that's with percent of population that has incomes below the poverty level. And so here, the red areas are the ones that have the highest poverty rate. So they're kind of the opposite of the areas that have the highest income. And then this is showing the percentage of households that are renter occupied. So again, you've got some fairly concentrated rental areas, and then other areas that have very few renters. And those areas are going to be quite important in considering district boundaries. Overcrowding is basically what I'm using for this is the federal definition of overcrowded or severely overcrowded housing, which is more than one person per room in the housing units. And so, we've got a couple of areas that are like 15 to 20%. It's fairly high, and then a lot of the areas is much lower than that, below 10%, or practically zero. This is the under 18 population, so the concentration of kids. This is something that both creates a community of interest, but also has an effect on the ability of people to participate in elections. And so the fact that you've got this fairly pronounced separation between areas that have a lot of kids and areas that don't have a lot of kids means that when you equalize the populations in districts, the districts that include the areas with lots of kids are going to have fewer voting age people, fewer registered voters, fewer citizens. But we're required to equalize the total population, which includes non-citizens and includes under 18 population. This map is showing the percentage of households where the residents are in the same house that they were in a year previously. And all of these are relatively high in this jurisdiction, but you do have a couple of areas where it's only about 75%. So close to 25% of the population turned over in terms of housing units during this time. Most of the areas are much more stable than that. And this one is showing the percentage of the adult population that have college degrees. And so again, you've got some areas that are fairly low numbers, around 10% or so. And then you've got other areas that are 20 to 30, and the one that's 40%. And again, it's an issue that plays into communities of interest and political participation and those sorts of things. And then this map is showing the Latino concentration among citizen voting age population. This is the statistic that we need to look at when we're trying to analyze the potential of vote dilution. And so we have fairly concentrated communities in which there's a really high Latino citizen voting age population, and then other areas that are much lower. The reason that there's so much white space on this map is that those are census blocks rather than block groups, and so everything that has zero population is just in white. It doesn't have a percentage. And also you can see much more detail in terms of the distribution, again, because it's at the census block level rather than the block group level. I believe, oh yeah, this one is, the block groups that all these other maps were shown by are fairly large units that are too large to use whole in districts in general, so the districts will be drawn at the block level, but this just kind of gives a idea of the concentrations of population. So for example, you've got the one block group that's basically to the west that has only just over 1,000 people, whereas you've got a whole group of block groups in the eastern area that have 3,000 or 4,000 people in them. So basically, most of the districts are going to be concentrated in the area where most of the population is. So you'll have some districts that are very large, and then other districts that are much smaller, again, because they have to be equal in population. Okay. Yeah, and yeah. So I mentioned that we have it on the website where people can get information about this. We'll be adding a map that people can download and draw lines on if they want to submit. We'll also have some available in the district office, so that people who want to can come in and make suggestions. It's not going to have any data on it, but it will allow people to, it will have the general large population data, but not enough for people to be able to calculate exactly what a district should be, but they can give their opinions about what communities belong together and that sort of thing. And I will take anything that comes in that way and include it with my analysis. I think that it's more likely that people will be interested in it and try to do this kind of thing once some draft maps have been made public, so that people have an idea what to react to and what they like and what they don't like in the draft map.
Okay, thank you.
Will the draft maps be available before the next meeting, or will they be released at that third meeting?
They have to be released to the public at least 7 days before the meeting, so they have to be available for people to examine. We'll put them on the website, and we'll also have paper copies in the office so that people can examine them.
You've done this for a lot of communities, I take it.
Yes.
In your experience, has any of those communities had a completely hands-off approach, allowing you to do your work without any?
Yeah, I've had, I would say probably maybe 30–40%.
But we're not one of those.
Don't want.
I would suggest to this board that perhaps we consider allowing the gentleman to do everything without any interference from our staff. Just a suggestion.
Randy, you have anything to say?
Yeah, we talked about the board and the district and the state and all these different timelines, but I don't remember asking you, if we decide to move forward with this, are you able to have a map set up for us by June 1st?
Yes.
Okay. Even though it might take a couple of revisions and votes and...
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's a lot of data you got to work with.
Yeah.
You lost me about halfway through those maps.
Yeah, I have to echo that. It's going to be very interesting to see how you collate all that data and come up with district boundaries. That's going to be fascinating, and I probably won't understand it then. So I'm glad you're doing it instead of me.
Thank you, David.
All right.
Okay, I did not see this, but is there a staff report, Victoria, by any chance?
I think
I bypassed it.
I think it's okay. I think it's been well covered.
So, I think think I did close the public hearing, so I think we're done with that item.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, number 7, professional government affairs services for Brownstein, Hyatt, Barber, and Schrick. It's recommended to approve the scope of work and authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement with BHFS on an as-needed basis, month-to-month basis. General manager.
I don't know if you want me to go through everything. You know, my basic presentation last week was, you know, we really needed presence in Sacramento. And that came to light when what happened to us wouldn't have happened if we would have been informed along the way. And I won't get into too much detail there, but right now we're keeping up on a lot of these things. I just got notice today of another hearing that Eduardo's having regarding, you know, legislation that might come into play, and so it's nice to have that presence there, because meetings occur just like they do here, and we don't have the chance to go up there, meet. These people meet with Aqua and others on a routine basis, monthly, I know, for at least. And so it's nice to do this, and like you said, this is month to month. We can. The reason for that is that once we've completed our issues with DWA and to see if we were going to need some legislation or something along the way, then we had that ability to put that in place. So I recommend that we use them, continue to use them until, you know, we have some of these issues resolved.
Okay, thank you. Ivan?
Yeah, one thing I just kind of wanted to clarify was, I know we hired them really specifically for our issues with Sigma, and then I'm reading their scope of services, and just about all their bullet points are targeted around groundwater. But they are also looking out for us for other bills and things that are coming up.
Absolutely. Anything, everything that has to do with our district, they will respond.
And one thing was, I don't know if we can make a request of them, but I know Laura always gives us a monthly report of, you know, updated items that are happening back in Washington. They could do a similar thing for...
Yes, actually, we've been doing that, but putting it in the board pack, or the board boxes normally, and we will continue. You'll see those separate in your board box, okay?
Okay.
Steve?
This is a new contract,
No.
and the old contract goes away?
Well, the old, yeah, basically, yeah, every year, yeah. Yes, this is a new contract. I guess that's the answer to that question, yeah. I mean, we have used them before with the contract, but it was on an annual basis, where the contract was for 12 months. But this time, we changed it to an as needed, because we may have some of these issues resolved by the time we, hopefully in several months.
Yep. This is very expensive. I don't think anybody's going to argue with that, but it's an expertise that we absolutely have to have. And with that in mind, I'd like to make the motion that we approve this new agreement.
I'll second it.
Do you have anything else to say, Liz?
No.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on the floor for the professional government affairs services for Brownstein, Hyatt, Barber, and Schrick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4 ayes and 1 no from Director Grasha. Okay, number 8. Number 8 is award of contract for the repair of the administration building roof. Okay, I'll read it. It's recommended to award a contract for the repairs of the administration building roof to R&R Roofing and Waterproofing, Inc., the lowest responsible bidder, in the amount of $72,840. Was there some numbers that were going to be changed here? I just dawned on me when I read that.
I'll have Danny respond to that. Yes, we're going to make sure these numbers are correct.
Good afternoon, President, members of the board. There was an error on my part on the contract. The staff report, the action that's listed under item 8 is correct. The value of $91,050 is a 25% contingency. We put a project budget that's being asked for, the augmentation. That's not correct. It's not $105,000, it's the $91,050.
So we're voting on that.
Yes, ma'am. You're also voting on approving and augmenting the capital budget to create this project for $105,000.
Oh, okay, that's what the other figures.
So the staff report and the item as worded in the agenda is absolutely correct.
This is
Correct,
correct,
Rasha,
the
what's
way you
being
read
asked
it.
is the packet includes a contract. Unfortunately, I missed it, and it says not to exceed $105,000. That's not what we're asking. The contract's in there just for form, but the actual amount that's being requested today is $91,050.
That's what the contract will be.
And, can I ask a question?
Yes, let me go down the
I
line
have
here.
no further
Okay,
questions.
yes.
I listened to the report that you gave, I think, Thursday, and I'm a little wobbly on there's some work inside the building that won't be included in this. I haven't
Yes.
been in the building much, so I don't know. I've seen some walls that have been removed. I don't know what's going on upstairs. Does that get taken care of as part of this? Or?
No, that's correct. It does not include any of the internal work.
This is the roof.
It'll stop the leaks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So, as Arden mentioned, that's correct. So this
Yeah,
is a roof repair only. This replaces a roof so that we can stop the leaks. There's staff decision, there's also been some other discussions that it may not be the right decision to move forward and repair the interior. Depends on what we want to do with this building. But for now, we'll be bringing, as I stated last Thursday, we'll be bringing in, I believe it's the March 11th workshop. We're piggybacking the employee manual along with the building and bringing some of those things to light.
Yeah, I saw something about another meeting, but when they're not clear about what they're gonna be, they kind of get confused about it. So we're, after the roof's done, we'll worry about the inside, is that what we're doing?
Basically.
That's
Correct.
all right.
So currently, we want to stop any further damage from the building happening inside.
Yeah.
It's been mitigated as far as any mold or moisture. We just wanted to prevent that from continuing. And we can bring back staff recommendations, what we want to do to the interior.
We've got the building in an environmentally safe condition.
Right.
But if we don't fix the roof, it's gonna rain again and we're gonna have.
When are they gonna do the work, Danny?
Well, keeping my fingers crossed, Madam President, that the board approves it today. And within the next week, we'll go ahead and go through the formality process. Hopefully get started in the next couple of weeks. The work is expected to take about approximately 4 weeks. So hopefully.
Mention that you're not going down past the plywood.
So the work, the scope of work takes us all the way down to the plywood, which is
Right.
is the structural.
If they
the
need
roof
to be
itself is the
replaced.
actual portion that keeps it from, makes it rainproof. So.
Which I'm okay with.
Yeah, there is.
It's Randy's turn.
So should I continue? with the
Yeah, you go
response?
ahead, but
What I
Randy,
was saying.
you didn't hear the opening. Okay, sorry.
Oh.
You didn't hear the opening, what we read, but we'll let you in on it. Go ahead.
I apologize on that too, Madam
No.
President. So what I was saying is depends on what was determined, there be plywood replaced as necessary.
Right.
Along with the drainage that where the water is directed to
Which
use
is
drain.
what part of the change order.
What is the roof construction like now? Is it tar paper or is it?
It's a flat tar asphaltic roof.
Not
Yeah.
urethane? Are you going to urethane? Is that what's?
We are going, it's not is it urethane? It's PVC, that's what it is. So, it's not an asphaltic or like a hot mop type roof. It's going to a PVC coating, which is what's been recommended in the actual specifications and plans for the roof repair. So it's being bid as.
And I heard you mention
as designed.
last week that there was something upstairs. You're gonna get everything you want up there, is that, but that's gonna come later?
What I spoke about is currently we're not looking to make repairs to all the ceiling and walls, but because of the upstairs restroom and the limitations that it creates upstairs and this downstairs unrelated item, that staff will be coming to the general manager and if it reaches board level also recommending.
There are a few things that we do want to correct inside.
Well, we're getting off
But
the
we're
roof.
not going to do that.
We're kind of getting off the roof here, so.
Okay.
It's just the roof is the only thing on the agenda today. Okay, Danny, are you?
I'm.
Okay, Randy?
No, ma'am.
Russ? Okay, so I will entertain a motion to award the contract for the repair of the administration building roof.
So moved.
One second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 9, well 27 and 31 dry wells to award of contract. award of contract for, in an amount of $239,891 plus a 10% contingency, authorizing the general manager to do all things necessary to complete the work of constructions of well 27 and 31 dry wells.
I don't have anything additional from what we shared with you on Thursday. I can tell you though, just to remind you that, you know, the thing that I don't think people realize is by having these dry wells, we're going to dispense with a lot of operational cost that over the course of the year should more than pay for the capital costs that we're going to have to deal with right now. But it is a big hassle to go out there, and it creates a potential problem that could cost us even more. So I'm recommending that we do the dry wells.
Russ, you have any comments? Randy? Steve?
Nope, good work.
Ivan? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Move the motion.
Second.
You made the motion, Steve? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Number 10.
This is something you've been doing for 15 years that I've been here. Or 14, soon to be 15.
It's a resolution 2020-03 and 2020-04 for water and sewer standby assessments.
This just sets the process
We're just setting it
in place. You'll see again that I'm going to bring it back to you when the hearing period is over.
And we do a public hearing on it.
And then that's when you actually vote to approve it.
So we have to adopt resolution 2020-03 and 2020-04. Can we do them all at once? I'm assuming because it's just one item. So
You can do them all at once, or you can separate them. Should someone want to vote differently on either one, then you'd want to do a separate vote.
okay.
Can't
Well,
imagine.
well, okay. Somebody entertain a motion and let me.
Where that can't happen.
Somebody entertain a motion to do one or both.
Since we're just setting the process in place, we're not actually voting to approve each one. I'll make a motion that we move item 10 as written.
Okay, resolution 2020-03 and 2020-04.
Yes.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
President Wright, I didn't get a second.
We didn't get a second?
I'll second it.
Sorry. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Dory. California Special Districts Association Board of Directors, do we nominees for seat B and Southern Network call for nominees?
You don't need to take any action on this, of course, but we gave you the opportunity to come up with a nominee if you so desire.
Anybody? I don't hear any, so we'll go to number 12. Special Districts Association Board of Directors for the nominee for seat C. I guess we don't have any there either, so I will move on to 13, Mission Springs Water District West Valley Water Reclamation Facility.
I don't think there's anything additional. We shared with you that we had a great conversation with Paul Rasmussen and the staff. We immediately received a response the next day when we were expecting it to take considerably longer, and basically outlining specifically what our standards would be for the effluent.
And additional items like we want from that.
Yeah. So that's about all there is to report. That was a tremendously successful meeting. So.
Very good. Yeah, Paula said it was a good meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. Gave us all a chance to sit down and talk. It also gave me a chance, and Danny heard me say this, and Brian was there too. And you know, we've been working in harmony. We've been working as partners with the Regional Water Quality Control Board. I mean, we even sponsored legislation back when we wanted to get this project going, and you know, that resonated well, and I think that had a lot of influence on their review of this. And they were very receptive to the way we were doing it. Of course, we did it according to the rules and regulations that were in place, but it helped. It helped to have that relationship. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Anybody?
No.
Okay. The consent agenda, we have approval of minutes and registrar of demands. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Dory, do we have a correction? You said you were going to correct something? did you
I'm
say?
just adding Victoria Ward as a staff attendee to the study session and board meeting.
Okay. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Indian, no, what did that? Indian sewer, that's the one we just did, right? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we don't have
financial
anything-
report.
yeah, we don't.
Okay, I'm just
Not
going to
a
pull it.
financial report.
Financial report. We did.
Hasn't changed.
That nothing changed. Didn't get any
Looks
more
good.
money over the weekend. Okay.
Well, we're tracking above what we expected, so.
Okay, public affairs
Better.
report. Same as.
There's nothing new?
Nothing new.
No.
Monthly reports. This was what she did. What's in the packet here? That's all she did.
We discussed this for pretty much at length too. There were, it is, we were down a little bit. It's interesting to see what the weather is like this year as compared to last year. There is talk in the water world, amongst the water buffaloes, that we are closely getting to a drought. And I've heard that.
They
on
talk about the
news.
Central California being in a moderate drought.
So let's hope they handle it a little better this time. Okay.
Okay, monthly, anybody else have, Ivan, Steve, comments on it? Randy, you got?
Nope.
Okay, upcoming events and directors' reports. Who would like to go?
I can.
Okay.
With your permission, Madam President. January 9th, attended 3 meetings of the Desert Valley Builders Association. The first was a legislative morning meeting at Rancho Mirage City Hall. That's always an interesting meeting. There are representatives from every government entity in the Coachella Valley present and discuss a wide range of issues, most of which involve development, but not all. Attended the public officials luncheon. There was a presentation by the Imperial Irrigation District. And then late in the afternoon, Desert Valley Builders Association Board of Directors meeting, which primarily was a review of various agency impact fees and going over the budget. On January 21st, the Desert Hot Springs Community Support Group luncheon, nothing to report there. January 21st also City Council meeting. They swore in the new police officer. And there was a lot of, you go to City Council meetings and you can't tell by the agenda what's going to generate a lot of interest on part of the public. And I was kind of surprised that there was a lot of discussion on that particular meeting on landscape and lighting maintenance districts. Normally that doesn't generate any community involvement at all, but this one, there was a lot of people talking about that, and it made the public comments go on for quite a
Are they
while.
raising it?
Yeah, they're actually charging it. They hadn't been charging in this one particular area. It was Rancho Del Oro, and the people that were protesting it were under the impression they'd already been paying it. So anyway, it was a very. Then there was an additional discussion on council and mayoral compensation. They are going to be, absent any unforeseen circumstances, raising the compensation for council and mayor. There's also a lengthy discussion, another one of those issues that I wasn't anticipating to generate much discussion, but it did. There's a discussion on the American dog kennel breeding ordinance that they were putting together. And I thought, wow, that was kind of surprising. January 22nd, the Convention and Visitors Bureau networking night at Marvin's Magic Theater in La Quinta. Well-attended event, very interesting location. January 23rd, DVBA networking night, nothing to report there. January 27th, board meeting, Cabot's board meeting, discussing the Mata Ortiz pottery show that's taking place. These are very impressive pottery sculptures and things, highlighting 3 particular artists. And the show is going to take place from the February 21st through the 23rd. If anybody is interested, I have the...
Yeah, I get emails about that.
Yeah, yeah. Then the BIA economic forecast, which covers a lot of the same ground as the one that we previously attended, but I found particular interest discussions on migration, not immigration, but migration of the population from one state to the other. And California kind of leads the nation in a percentage of people leaving the state. And the reason for California's sharp decline in population growth relative to the U.S. is the fact that more people are moving to other states than those moving into the state. Well, that's a no-brainer. The root cause is the relatively high state and local taxes. Surprise, surprise. 3 states that rank highest in taxes, New Jersey, California, and New York, they also had a high level of net out migration. So that was kind of interesting. January 31st, attended the Aqua Board. When I say Aqua, please forgive me, because the Agua Caliente Tribal Water Authority also refers to themselves as Aqua, and I always have to kind of keep that straight, one Aqua versus another one. So anyway, they had their board meeting. Of note for that is I was asked and accepted to attend a Tribal Water in California conference. It's a 2-day conference on April 2nd and 3rd. It's going to take place at the Morongo Hotel Casino Conference Center. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Randy, you did all yours right on
Yes.
Thursday, so, and that's all we have for those. Rest of my agenda, correspondence. A lot of good things in there, a lot of nice comments about the district and district employees. District council comments.
Yeah, all of the comments were given at the last meeting.
Okay. General manager's report.
Thank you. Briefly, we did send in the water for Berkeley Springs again last week, right? April?
This week. Yeah, it arrived this week.
Okay, Victoria, all right, sorry. We're on, it was on right there. Anyway, we did collect the sample and send it in, and I guess they were pretty excited to get it. So, we like that. Basically, we had our work today that we're getting through with a lot of things. We're going to be coming up with workshops. They've all been mentioned, codifying, etc. But the other thing you mentioned, Rosanna, and I mentioned that I just received a report from her. I can give you an example of some of the things that she does. She wrote this to me today. It was on Tuesday, Eduardo's committee, and we knew about this. The Assembly Water Parks and Wildlife Committee held an informal hearing titled "What Happens to Water Supplies During Power Shutoffs?" The informal hearing was aimed at examining how the recent public safety power shutoff (PSPS) events impacted water supply, which is a good an issue. The takeaway from the hearing was the consensus around the need for local flexibility, additional funding, enhanced communication between the state and local agencies on the issues of funding. There is a consensus that the additional funding is needed to assist local agencies in responding to PSPS events, especially special districts, since they are ineligible for the $75 million funding that was provided in the 1920 budget. There is currently $50 million in the governor's proposed budget for PSPS activities, and the special districts are eligible for this funding. But needless to say, this figure will be negotiated during the budget process during the coming months, which Rosanna will be a part of, I'm sure. ACWA has announced sponsoring legislation aimed at addressing the local flexibility mentioned above. That'll give you an idea.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a comment on that.
Okay.
Good. That was a subject matter that I brought up as a result of attending another meeting. If you recall, we talked about the lawsuit that was filed by a community where they lost a number of homes because when the power shut off, they had no way of pumping the water to where it was needed, and they lost a $12 million lawsuit. And at that time I asked, do we have contingency plans for dealing with power shut-offs? And that, your response to me at that time was yes, we've got it covered. So this is not new information, so I just, but it supports what I...
Yeah, well, we do. That doesn't always mean that it's going to work out perfectly, but yes, every area we have alternative power supplies. I don't know if you want to respond to that, Daniel.
I'd like to actually respond to that next month if I can. Bassam and I attended a function put on by Edison specifically to PSPS. The state health or Department of Water Resources was there. Actually, State Water Resources Control Board was there. The Edison, and then there was multiple agencies. There's a lot of things that have changed with our emergency response plan. They used to refer to, back when the 9/11 events happened, a vulnerability assessment, a VA. That's now looked at as a resiliency plan. That's a requirement. There's a couple of things that are being required as of this, because of our size. By the end of this year, we'll be planning for that.
Resiliency plan.
So there's all that is putting our staff on high alert. We have done a lot of manual testing, and we're going to continue to look at others. And there will be some recommendations in this coming fiscal year budget for generators on site and portable.
And we discussed this morning too. We're scheduling a tabletop.
And although we don't have the generators that we'd like to see, the agency is covered with agreements that we have. We actually have with the vendors that bring us generators. We have been affected with this PSPS in our IDE area, which is our 2 public water systems. We were out for the majority of the day, and we actually had to go ahead and take our generators out there in order to move water around. So staff has been doing a great job, and I look forward to bringing you some more information from that conference next month in the general manager's report.
Thank you. Well, maybe put that on the agenda, Dory, for next. Okay, thank you.
That though tells you something, and that we did that without much hoopla from the public or from our customers. So we are prepared, but we're not, like I said, we probably are going to struggle to get to be a little more prepared, and that's what we're in the process of doing.
Okay. Director's comments. Director Martin.
No, nothing. I don't have anything.
Director Duncan.
Just quickly, we're getting ready to take off, go to DC here next week. Want to make sure, Dory, we have hotel rooms, airlines. I got my flight itinerary ready.
I just got that one thing where you click on to that's all you
reserve yet. Do we have an itinerary yet of meetings with?
No,
but we usually do not get an itinerary till we're on the plane.
That morning.
Yeah. But I can tell you, I do believe we do have an appointment with Ruiz, I think, or staff, and we'll get appointments with both of our senators, their staff, probably, and I'm sure that we will have one with the Corps of Engineers. We always manage to work that out, which is the important one. Well, we need to talk to them. We will all share.
That's our main one. We need to talk to.
Yeah. You know, we always wind up with an appointment with Ruiz's staff, but I don't think there's ever been a time where he hasn't come out and joined us.
No, you want to take a picture with us.
He always does. He says he only has 5 minutes, but he talks for 15 or 20, or listens.
Very good at coming out and saying hi to us.
Yeah. Well, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, he's got a good staff that's really interested in water and very interested in what we do here in this district. So it's very nice to go visit.
And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Steve, any comments? Ivan?
Yeah, I just had a couple just overall shout outs to staff. Thank you for all your hard work. It's good to see the correspondence, and congratulations to April and Don. And also I was happy to see that when we have an opening, we're able to look within and move employee to a better suited position. I'm just overall happy with staff. Thank you.
Ditto.
Thanks.
All I want to say is that on that Berkeley Springs, West Virginia water competition, taste test competition, that's this weekend, on the 22nd is, I think that's Saturday, is the date that they actually do the voting, so it's very possible it might be on their website that evening, that night. So if anybody, is interested in looking it up, the
Thank
evening
you.
probably, or the night
Yeah,
of,
we'll hear it. Even last year when we didn't get
February
the medal,
22nd.
we were still fifth, fourth.
Yeah.
We were fourth. We were only one off. We could have put 9 on
It
the
does
trophy.
bring up a question I have. I'm wondering, with the massive amount of flooding that's taking place through much of the Midwest and some of the other parts of the country, whether or not, how that impacts water quality for those jurisdictions, and it could impact the competition, perhaps.
Oh,
they'll be having a lot of water, huh? Unbottled water, flowing water. Okay, nothing else? I will adjourn. Oh, we're not having a closed session today, so if nothing else, I adjourn this meeting.
thank you.